This is Maddie Terry here, reporting at the Garden Walk by the Welcome Center with
Sharon Grass. I'm currently president of the Master Gardeners Association.
and
Don Nagger, Master Gardener, St. John County.
so how long have you been president?
1 year, I think, or maybe almost 2.
Okay. How long were you president?
3 years.
Just 3? It seemed like it was forever, which is a good thing.
What's your favorite part about running the club?
About running the club, I think getting to work with other gardeners and learning things that they have found out from gardening.
Okay. What was your favorite part when you were running the club?
Seeing it come together, seeing the members work together and bringing it together, and then giving out the money.
Yes.
Grant money, giving that out.
Yeah, that's my favorite. We've got several gardens around town that have benefited from money from the result of this plant sale. It's our sole source of income, so that's why we rely on it. So we really want people to come out and see some of the gardens. We've got new gardens on the walk this year.
What's your favorite part of gardening?
Oh, sometimes just getting out and digging in the ground.
What's your favorite part of gardening?
Eating the tomato.
What's your favorite gardening plant?
Oh, my favorite, probably peonies.
What's your favorite plant?
The one that's blooming.
And daylilies. They're probably my favorite ones. There's so many colors of each one.
Can you show us some of the plants featured?
Certainly. We always have a lot of hostas. Joan Trow, one of the master gardeners that has her garden on display for the garden walk, grows lots of hostas in her garden, and so she shares that with us. We have lots of varieties, and I think one of the things about growing the plants in the plants that we feature here, they grow well in our gardens too, so you're probably going to have success with them. And I think that's probably one of the best things. Did you find an unusual plant that you liked? I'm not familiar with this plant, Don. What does it bloom eventually?
A bloom, it's like a preacher in the pulpit. That's it there. Not much, but needs a lot of shade, and it's the leaf that's unique.
Wow.
I don't think. Are these from your garden?
Yes.
Are they? Do they get taller?
No, that's about it there.
About it.
Yeah.
And it's a perennial, meaning it comes
back every year.
Okay.
Does it need shade?
Very much shade.
So pretty dense shade then?
Pretty dense. I think that one there was tilting his head. Got a little too much sun yesterday.
Oh,
These are cannas.
And?
It's a perennial, and it's
If it don't get a
and it
harsh winter,
blooms.
they will come back. But if you want to dig a
bloom,
few and
red,
put
white,
the roots in dry, they ensure they come back.
yeah. I grew those in
makes nice little flowers.
big
Just
pots
what you
over.
showed
I
me.
worked
Yeah,
with
it's,
Dr. Raju,
I knew it was a
and
green
he has some big
the
pots.
green
We put not this variety. It was a red one, and they do quite well in pots also.
Buckeye is
Yeah.
a native to Missouri. There's no buckeyes on them now.
Okay.
They bloom with a red bloom, and the nut itself is kind of reddish compared to the
I think
Ohio
it's called my
buckeye.
husband is from
Yeah.
crap.
I think it gets
How
about
long does it
12
take
foot
before you
Yeah. It
get
has like
buckeyes
flat
off of a
flowers.
buckeye tree?
Yes,
It's about
maybe
3 years
like
that
4
they'll start their
petals.
bloom.
Yeah.
I got one
Like
for
that.
3 years
Four or
that's blooming,
five
and I don't know if
Then I
it's
know
going to get
what
any
I'm looking at.
nuts on it.
Okay.
And that's
Well, really pretty on their phone there.
3 years, 4.
Yeah.
And we've been discussing this plant
The box would fit on.
a fair amount today. Now, is this,
That's the lamb's ear.
that's the lamb's ear. And
Comfrey?
then comfrey.
Yeah. It
Oh,
looks like
yeah.
there's one, but it's medicinal. But I don't know how I don't know how to use it for medicinal. I just got it because I like it.
Oh, yes. Comfrey's, if I remember correctly, they used it years ago. Julie, you should be able to, didn't they use that comfrey tea and it helped soothe the stomach? I'm not sure. I'm sure that there are other uses, but I think that was one of them. No, there was another plant over here, and we were discussing whether it was
I like these. I used to always have
Oh,
them.
it's pretty, the ferny plants. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it bushes out here.
This one here, I thought this was lamb's ear too, but this is they're calling it, it's a likeness, Lynchis. Pretty little bloom. In fact, we've got one in the bouquet of flowers up there. It's a little purple pink kind of bloom. And we've got wisteria also, but you have to be careful where you put this. It needs strong support after it gets so big. And we've got several two varieties of Liriope or Liriope, however you want to say it. This is a nice fall bloomer. It's mallow. Does this one have a big?
We don't know the color. But
color?
It has the big flower.
Big flower, yes. I've got a white one with a red eye, and they're just beautiful. When nothing else is kind of blooming in the garden right before the fall flowers, that one comes into bloom. And we've got several varieties of heirloom tomatoes. Leroy, one of our master gardeners, and Ellen, they like to grow the heirlooms. Supposedly, do you grow the heirlooms?
Not too much.
Yeah, see me, I go with better boy, better girl. I'm pretty plain. But they say that the heirlooms have much better flavor. And we've got some boxwood wreaths. They're all popular right now for decorating. And they will stay good until until probably middle summer. This is the flower that's called the likeness, Lynchis, and it's a very pretty bloom. It combines good with the larkspur.
I want to do
And also the pink poppies, but we don't have any plants of the poppies this year, nor the larkspur. That came from one of our members' gardens.
but otherwise
Anything else? What advice would you have for gardeners that aren't master gardeners?
What do you
What's the
suggest?
question?
Advice?
New gardeners, advice. Just get in there, read it. I read a lot about gardening. Now, I wouldn't know a blueberry plant from a raspberry plant because I don't get into the vegetable gardening stuff, but I feel like I'm pretty much an expert on perennials. Many of the gardeners here have large vegetable gardens. So,
I'd say try something you think you would like and
Yeah.
know whether it's shade or sun.
yes. And learn about making good dirt. You know what you need to add to it.
You can always come to the Extension Center Acadia and help
Yeah.
you with any questions.
Yeah, and probably a
call, email, bring in plants, bring in bugs,
probably
soil, all of it.
and a soil test is probably real important too. And you know, some people garden organically a little bit more. That tends to be my style. I don't like a lot of chemicals. The once in a while you have to resort to that. Other than that, I think those are some good tips for a new gardener.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
As far as master gardeners go, we cover everything, all the basics. So we go through plant anatomy and how a plant works. We also do soils. So soils are important. Healthy soils equal healthy plants. Then we do fruits, vegetables, annuals and perennials, lawns, diseases and insects, and we get some weed control in there, vegetables, fruits, so an assortment goes into the Master Gardener classes. And then I do other classes around if there's requests for certain things. We've been doing a series at the library here in St. Genevieve. So Tuesday night I'm doing flowers. So we do just a little bit of everything, and whatever people are interested in, they can give me a call at the office, and I will provide whatever information they're interested in. If they want organic information, if they want something specific. I do a lot of plant ID, a lot of bug ID. My secretary loves it when the bugs walk in. She just points to my office. But yeah, we do just about anything. So I'm available for any questions regarding horticulture.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We're at the home of Al Kaiser, and would you mind giving us a tour of your garden?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Sure. If there's something back here you want to see, it's just
Oh, wow.
the plants have kind of grouped with the rain. Those are Queen Elizabeth roses. Mrs. Shue, who lived here, her name was Elizabeth, and she started them all. And so I've kind of divided, and these are Queen Elizabeths here also. And then the pink over there are poppies. Wow. That's the poppy that they use like for bread and cooking and that sort of thing. They're annual plants. And then there's black raspberries against that building over there, and red raspberries all along that side of the yard over there. 2 different raspberries. That's Campion, and I got a start of that from my neighbor Nancy. That's an old French herb. And then foxglove, but they're just about bloomed out. They're just about, this is about the end of their line. So, and there's raspberries there too. And the lilies are just beginning to bloom. Those are the earliest ones. Those are little carpet lilies. Somebody gave me a start of those too, and they're kind of pretty. And the peonies are just about done. You should have been here last week. So, and those are lilies that Garden Club gave me about 3 years ago, and they were kind of a surprise. They're just huge, and they're beautiful. They're yellow, and the flowers come up in, there'll be maybe 20 on a stalk, and they're down-facing, bright yellow flowers. They're pretty spectacular when they bloom. But they've still got another, 3 weeks to go, I think. So. Yeah, all the poppies are drooping right now from the rain. They'll pick up if the sun comes out. And these lilies have just started this morning. They're just beginning to open. That's garlic back there.
Oh, wow.
Along that ledge. They're kind of fun because the seed pods come up and then they'll twist around and stick out in the other direction. Those are the elephant garlic, and then this is German garlic over here. And you see, this one's beginning to do it. They'll grow up and then they curl, and they'll all curl around.
Oh my
like that
gosh.
until they get mature, and then they stand straight up. But I usually pick them off before then. Yeah. And the raspberries are just about ripe. I noticed the birds out here this morning. Sometimes they eat them before they're ready to go. So
What are these?
that's larkspur, and it just reseeds itself. So I just let it come up wherever, and if I don't want it somewhere, I pull it out. It's the same way with poppies. The poppies reseed themselves. So it's a wildflower, but it's kind of pretty.
It is pretty. How did you first start gardening?
I think when I was a little kid, I had to pull all the weeds at home and that sort of thing, and so I got started then. And then when I moved to St. Genevieve, I had a house with some land, so I started just slowly doing stuff and enjoyed it and just kept on going.
Out of your garden, what's your favorite flower or plant?
Oh my gosh, the one that's blooming. I really don't know. I like lilies a lot. Like Asiatic and Oriental lilies. Day lilies are nice, but they only last a day. Roses are too much trouble. Oh, by the way, that's rue over there. That's kind of an interesting plant. That's an herb. It's a bitter herb, but it's kind of neat just because of the color.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a little poppy.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a poppy. And this is last minute, like put something in the pot. So I ran out to Comfort & Barton, shoved a couple of, but they'll fill in. They'll look good by the end of summer. Oh well.
what's your favorite part of gardening?
Probably not having to do anything but look. You know, just walk around. I'll come out in the morning with a cup of coffee and just walk around and see what's blooming and what's happened with the garden overnight, and that's my favorite. Or maybe watering. My least favorite is weeding. Yeah, but has to be done.
We're at the gardens of Nancy Fisher. Would you mind giving us a tour?
Sure, come right along. We'll head down the walkway here. There's still plenty of weeding to do, but any gardener would tell you that that's a never-ending chore. So, this started years ago. My mom was a big flower lover, so after she passed away and I bought the house, then I kind of redid everything. There was just one little bed in the middle, and I put in the rock walkway and then all the other flowers and everything along the sides. So it's kind of a tribute to my mother. And then fortunately, I'm right next door to Al, so we share a lot of things back and forth. So if you've already been up to Al's and you've seen some of his things, a lot of things I have are the same as well.
Oh, wow.
So,
What are some of the plants you have here?
this is and right behind you is a very large oak leaf hydrangea. It seems to be very happy. There was one that I purchased about 4 years ago, just the start of it, from the plant sale that the Master Gardeners have. So it was just a little guy at the time, and it has grown to be quite a fabulous plant. Right here, the little pink right next door is a campion, a rose campion, and so that's one of the ones that seems to bloom around this time of year or start blooming, so they're almost always blooming during the garden walk. And then obviously a little further down are lots and lots of hostas in the shade area there.
That's cool.
Yes, and Al has a little baby oak leaf hydrangea that he's pointing out up there now. That little one that we got started a couple years ago. We actually had both gotten one at the Master Gardener's sale, like I said, about 4 years ago, but he pampered his, and I was really tough with mine, and so his died, and so he had to get a start from this one then. But that's just kind of a lesson. You just don't want to pamper the plants. You just kind of let them be tough. So, and then if we go back here, this is just an area with some lilies and some of the plants that I get. I also do the garden up at school at Valley, and sometimes people will donate some plants to Valley, and so sometimes I'll put some in up there and some here, and sometimes I'll get them started here and propagate them here and then transplant them up there. So I know this lily came from Pete and Lou Bowman, and that's where we got the start of this one. So hopefully we can be able to transplant some up at school and I can make some room for them.
Oh, wow.
This is some rhubarb right in here. It's not a plant, obviously, but I got to start from Al. He has some up there as well. And then once again, some more hostas here. And then you said you do want to see the compost area.
Yes.
So this is just a 3-bin compost bin that I made, and I know most bins are supposed to have some air circulation, but Al had some luck with one that didn't, and this seems to work really well. So I can just turn from one bin to the next. This is the finished compost over here. This was from last year, so that's been in there, or that's finished from last summer. I transplanted that in there. And this is new stuff that had all the fall in there. So it's basically turned into soil. So this is what it was, what it started out as, and this is what it is right now. A little bit damp from the rain, but it's just excellent compost to put on top. And so everything that basically comes out of the garden goes back into the garden.
That's awesome.
And that was just some leaf mulch that I had that I put around the plants. Al kind of taught me that trick as well, that it works really well to do that instead of regular mulch, to just put some like a leaf mulch around them in the spring. And so that bin's empty right now, ready for this one to be turned into it.
What's the importance of compost to plants?
I think it's really important because it puts the nutrients back into the soil that you took out. So rather than take the plants and say take them over to the site over at the old dump where we have a place where we can take our yard waste, which is very nice, especially for limbs and things like that. This is just a really good place it's convenient to be able to just throw it back here. And then the other thing is that you're not constantly having to replace the soil with, buying other topsoil or manure or something like that. Want to dig in the dirt a little? No. No.
How long does it usually take for all the leaves and plants to break down?
That will, some of those that's from late last summer in the fall, and when I turn that, what's underneath will be soil like this. It will be ready to go into the soil bin. So, maybe 6 months to a year. It depends a lot how warm it is. Then whatever's in there, what's on top will end up in the bottom of the next bin, and by fall that will pretty much have been turned into compost. So it'll be warm. It'll be very warm in the middle of that pile, and so that'll break down very quickly. And then also, there'll be a lot of bugs. If we were to turn that right now, there'd be a lot of bugs and worms and things in there, and that's exactly what you want to have in your compost bin. A lot of little critters that help in that breakdown process.
I'm here with Joan Tro at her backyard garden. Can you show us some of your plants here?
I can show you a few of them if you'd like.
Okay.
This is, right there, that was last year's edition. Each year I try to do something new. This year is the color of my house. I have painted after many, many years. Lavender, you can tell, purple is my favorite color. But this was last year's newest edition. It's called a stump or a trunk garden. You can see there are a few pieces of stumps and trunks in there. They had that up at the Missouri Botanical Gardens, and that's where I got the ideas. I have lots of hosta. They are everywhere. You know what hostas are? Very good. Okay. I have no idea how many I have, or what different kinds I have. They've just, if I saw them, I liked them. If they were reasonably priced, and even if they weren't, and I really liked them, I would get them. So I just don't know. But with all the shade, they go perfectly. Yeah. And then they are the variegated colors, so they give you a nice contrast with the different greens. And I have some strawberries. Unfortunately, like many things, they already have done their thing. They're ever-bearing, so they're supposed to keep producing. But there were some nice, I thought about going to the grocery store and buying some, just sticking them in there so they would look good. The turtle, they like strawberries, so I stuck him up there. That's why the little turtle is there. You have to look at the fleur-de-lis, of course. I'll let you lead over there.
Okay.
I called it the fleur-de-lis garden because I tried to do it only outside, not inside my house, a fleur-de-lis motif. And so this is it. I saw it, not like this, but a very different version of it in New Orleans when I was visiting my older daughter there. And I thought, I want to do that. So there's a little fleur-de-lis over there on that bench. So I traced it, and I put on a piece of paper, and I measured it, and then I measured how much room I have here, and I think that's algebra. I'm not sure. You would know. Is that algebra?
Yeah.
Okay, if it's 4 inches on paper and I have this much space, how much that took me a while to do that. The vegetable garden is there, if you want to look at that. It's not very impressive. Vegetables are not my favorite thing to grow, as you can tell. I always figure I can go to the farmer's market on Saturday morning if I really want something. But I grew up on a farm out in the country, so we always had a vegetable garden. And part of the garden was here when I moved in many years ago. So I make an attempt at it anyway. Those are golden raspberries over there that kind of took over, and there's a little rhubarb stuck in there. And some tomatoes and asparagus, snow peas, regular peas, arugula, soybeans, green beans, and spinach. And then I just planted some different squashes the other day and stuck a sign in there. But those are one of the things. I can never get zucchini to grow. So when I say things that could have and should have grown in my garden that I make my cookies and things out of, zucchini is one of the zucchini brownies. They're one of the things that should have grown in my garden, but I just can't get them to. They'll grow, but they won't go beyond the blossom stage. I understand that's because you don't have pollinators, but I have lots of pollinators, including carpenter bees, which are good pollinators, but they're drilling holes in my garage rafters. So you have to decide, do you want holes in your garage rafters, or do you want your plants pollinated? I figure there are a lot of honeybees. More and more people are getting honeybees.
Yeah.
And there's this Chinese elm over here that we're going to get to on the left. It's on the left here. That was my older daughter's 4th grade Arbor Day sapling back in 1989. And the bees come for like in about late August or early September, and they are just everywhere in that tree. And then this other tree over here is a Kentucky coffee tree. It's a native tree. And that was my younger daughter's 4th grade Arbor Day sapling, and it was 1992 because she's 3 years younger than the other one, and they got them in 4th grade. This is a native plant rain garden. The idea is that the water comes down the drain spouts, and then there's a pipe under there, and it comes, you can't see it anymore because the plants grew up. They come through there, and so a lot of the rainwater from the roof is collected. And if you come over here, you can see it comes down under there, and then it comes and flows in here.
Oh, wow.
And the overflow goes down through here, hopefully. And all of these are native plants, and the water drains out quickly enough that people say, what about mosquitoes? Well, the water doesn't hold that long, so you don't have to worry about mosquitoes. The rocks all came from my brother, who has some land in Minnoth, and we went out and pulled these, got these out of his woods down there. The path through there, all the hostas, lots of, the hammock. My younger daughter was visiting, I think it was Honduras, and she sent that home to me. She probably got it for $5. It's the thought that counts,
Yeah.
right? So my kids, my daughters are in my garden. They always had said, I have 2 daughters. They said, this is your 3rd daughter. Your garden is your 3rd daughter. I said, okay, I'll take that. And here's the little fleur-de-lis that I copied, traced, and then used for in the ground over there. What else can I show you?
What are these?
Those are dianthus. They are annuals, supposedly, but if you're real lucky, they'll come back at least the next year, which is what these did. They lasted, well, we didn't have a very hard winter this year, so they came up, and they looked a lot better before it poured down rain, but I'm glad it rained, and hopefully it's finished.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's finished for the weekend anyway. And a lot of lilies. Where there's sun, I have a lot of lilies. Even when there isn't a lot of sun, I have lilies, because it's really like the daylilies and the hostas go well together.
What plants attract butterflies?
Just about anything with a flower, but specifically the milkweeds for the monarchs. And there are some milkweeds in the rain garden there that do that. And then there was a butterfly lady at a Master Gardener seminar, I think last year or so, and she said zinnias, which I had no idea, they're just an annual that anybody can grow, are the really good butterfly attractors, especially in the fall. Not necessarily for monarchs, but there are other butterflies. Sometimes we forget that.
Yeah.
I think everybody concentrates on the monarchs now because they're so well known. There's some willow grass there. It's right there, the stuff that's growing on the border of the rain garden. Anything that likes water, not necessarily, not lilies that stand in water, but that like to have wet roots to stick in the rain garden.
What's one of the easiest plants that you have here in your garden to grow?
I would say the hostas. The hostas are the easiest, which is maybe why there's more of them than anything else. But they are, any perennial is usually easy, and perennial means it comes back every year, right? So most of this is perennials. Like I said, the dianthus aren't, and a few things aren't, but most of it is, which they cost more when you get them to begin with, but they come back and they come back and they come back, and that's just wonderful. There are 12 pickup loads of mulch in here if you wanted.
12?
That I go over to the feed store and the pickup truck, and then I come back and I pitch it off. Yes, I do it myself with a pitchfork, and so there are 12 loads. So the fountain we have to take in the winter because it can't be frozen out here, so I struggle to put it back out every spring just in time for the garden walk. The flowers, the metal flowers, that one, and then the big one on the shed. Those, I'm sure everybody's going to notice when they come to the first thing they're going to say is, your flowers match your house. But nobody said that yet.
They actually do.
This house, well, I painted them to match. They were red and yellow and things, and then after I had the house painted, sometimes I just stand there at the kitchen window and I look out and I get these. At the time, they seem like brilliant ideas to do different things. And, oh, I could do this, or I should do that. These are clematis. The problem is right in between where everything that's early blooming is done. All the daffodils and the tulips and all of that is done. And we're not quite there for the other things like the lilies that will just come out and be wonderful. There's just a few color spots, but not a whole lot right at this time. We never know what we're going to get with the weather and for the garden walk. We always hope for the best. And this is an herb garden here. I have parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Marjoram, some lemon thyme, regular thyme, lemon balm. I should give you some cookies. I have things in the house that as I said, I made things that should have or could have grown. This is rosemary.
It's pretty.
And then we have basil starting and some cilantro and some fennel. And that's the back. And everybody walks right past the front and comes to the back. And I thought, last night I was thinking, next year I'm going to make the front the showcase so that people go, when they get to the front. This is my miracle. That is a miracle because it isn't, I'm going to put a sign out, it's a miracle. That is a nasturtium. They're annuals. They don't like to grow here because they like cool weather and it gets really hot here. And I must have planted that last summer. I surely didn't plant it this year. And I don't know how it grew. And I saw it's a variegated nasturtium. And then I saw it has a flower on it. So it's a miracle. That's what I'm going to call it anyway.
Miracle. Do you have any more plants inside?
I have a few inside. I do have house plants, but I brought them out and they're on the front porch, or a few of them are out here for the summer to kind of give them a breath of fresh air, and then I haul them back in the wintertime and figure out where to put them in my house. But now I have an almost 2-year-old grandson who comes to visit me occasionally. He lives out of state, so I have to be careful of what's within his reach. I don't want him eating anything he shouldn't. There are a few, but my obviously favorite is the outdoors, and any excuse to be outside. I'd rather be outside than inside doing housework any day. We all feel that way, I think. That is Saint Fiacre right there. This one here, the statue there. Everybody has a Mary, but I didn't want to. I had a Mary, but I gave it away. Saint Fiacre is the patron saint of gardeners, among other ones, but I have him because he's the gardener's patron saint.
I'm here with Kathy at her backyard garden. Would you like to show us around?
Sure. This is my grandkids' fairy garden. This is Colton's farm. Taylor's fairy garden.
What all plants do you have here in your garden?
Gosh, I don't even know if I can name them all. I got carpet roses, I got black-eyed Susans, coneflowers, a lot of annuals. The annuals that I grow myself, I grow them from seed in my little greenhouse. I have sage, hydrangeas, love hydrangeas, those are my favorite. Lavender, I just started the lavender this year, so it's kind of small. Clematises, lots of clematises. Catmint, and I don't know, lots of them.
What got you started in gardening?
I've always liked flowers. My mom liked flowers a lot, and I guess that's what got me started. 4 years ago when I quit my job, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I sat here in the backyard and started digging out the grass, and this is what evolved from 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So, it's a hobby of mine. I'm probably a little obsessive. But this is what keeps me busy, and this is what keeps me happy.
How often do you come out here and work in your garden?
Oh, I'm out here a lot. If I don't have my grandkids, I am out here all day long, from usually 6 or 7 in the morning and till the evening, just piddling around.
Can you show us your greenhouse?
Sure. It's not very clean. It's kind of messy, but in February, I start all my seeds down the basement. I keep them out there until probably middle of March, depending on the weather. Right now, what I have in here is parsley and dill and milkweed. This is for my butterflies. I raise monarchs and swallowtails during the summer, and I have to have food for them, so I planted extra for them to survive. That's my butterfly house. I happen to have one caterpillar in there right now. We found him last week, and he is the only one I have so far. It's a swallowtail. He is munching on some parsley right now. They lay their eggs on parsley, dill, and fennel, and I've got parsley and dill planted outside here in the butterfly garden. I also have milkweed for the monarchs, but they have not came here yet and laid eggs. So,
wow. What's the most butterflies you usually have around here?
We usually see a lot of monarchs. Last year I raised over 100 monarchs, and I think it was about 30 or 40 swallowtails. My butterfly garden's up here. I just want a squirrel. These are all they're host plants for swallowtails and monarchs. I am on the monarch way station here. I'm certified. It just shows that I have food that the monarchs like. Back here is the milkweed, all along here. It gets pretty tall. The monarchs will lay their eggs on the back of the leaves. This is parsley. And my dill is over here. So, and I've got several different types of milkweed.
What's your favorite part of gardening?
Digging in the dirt. I come in with dirt in my nails. During the summertime, I cannot have pretty nails, but that's okay. It don't bother me none. I love digging in the dirt. Great stress reliever. You have a bad day, come out and dig in the yard, and it's all gone. Solve lots of problems digging in the dirt.
Yes. How do you check for the eggs?
Usually in the morning, I'll come out here and just go through. They lay their eggs on the back of the leaves also, the swallowtails. So you just come out here every morning and look through all this. Sometimes evenings. Just go through the back. And the eggs are just a little bitty white dot, so you have to know what you're looking for, because it took me a while before I figured out. I had somebody who raises several monarchs. She came in and showed me what an egg looked like, so then I knew what I was looking for. Sometimes we miss the eggs and we'll find little caterpillars, but that's all right. We just grab the caterpillar, we take him in the house and we put him in a little container with a lid on it until he gets big, and then we'll put him out here in the house and they make their little chrysalises in the house, and once they hatch, we release them.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of fun.
I'm here with Terry Greither in her backyard garden. Can you please show us around?
Well, this is our backyard, and this has plants and things that we enjoy. It's not a very big backyard, but we really like it. It just has our own little privacy fence with the trees and nature.
What are some of the plants you have here?
Lots of lilies. This garden was our inspiration a few years ago. It was just a little circle rock garden, and it was just overgrown with plants because I was learning things. So I told my husband, just put Roundup in and get rid of everything. So he did that twice. He put Roundup up, and the only plant that survived was that lily over there, that orange lily. That means something to us because my daughter's favorite color is orange and her favorite flower is a lily, and this garden is in her memory. So that was our inspiration to expand it and make it more special. So that lily survived Roundup twice and made its appearance for us. So
What's the easiest plant that you have here, like, to grow?
probably the hostas. They're pretty hardy and easy to grow. We have several in the backyard, around the trees on the other side and in the front. And they're nice. The hydrangeas are beautiful in the late summer.
Maddie, do you know what that is?
No.
That's a push mower.
That is a lawnmower.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
And another one over there.
We used to have to push one of those around to cut the grass.
They cut pretty good, too.
Imagine how much work that would be.
A lot.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Trees were so pretty this spring, the flowers, the red bud and the dogwood. My grandmom used to wear that too in that White House.
Yeah.
Especially dealing with the blood.
Yeah, I mean, get that. You know, I mean, like I said, I mean, I had long.
So we treated her and
Well, see, that's what I was doing last time. I don't know what's going on. It brought so much mud. Everything's touching.
That's just my four parents there. These here are all morning, this morning glories here. About a month from now, they'll be covering this entire fence, blooming every morning up until noon. Stuff. Got a few rose bushes here. My main thing's the vegetable garden. It's early, but it's doing good. Got my bell peppers, got a few jalapeno peppers here. The rest of these are all tomato plants.
There's some nice flowers on them already.
Yeah, I lay down the barrier in between, keep the weeds down, plus easy to walk on. I can get in the garden then, even when it's muddy and stuff like that. I hate weeding, you know, so I try to limit the amount of weeding, you know, I do.
I don't blame you.
Well, like my tomato plants here, what I do, if you notice each one, they kind of sit in a bowl. See, you know, you see the depression going down, so they're down below ground level. So when I water, all I have to do is only use about a quart or less water per plant because it sits in that bowl and soaks down into the ground, and then I'm not watering the weeds too.
Oh, I see.
That's why I didn't use soaker hoses. A lot of people use soaker hoses, but even the problem with them is you're still watering stuff you don't want to water, which is the weeds and stuff like that. So I bring the hose down from Karen's up there, and I just water each plant when it needs it. I usually try to limit watering all I can to make the plants tougher. If they start stressing a little bit, they start sending those roots down deeper. Because once you start watering your garden every day, every other day, you're going to have to keep it all summer long because they're never going to have any roots.
The roots just go where the water is.
Yeah, and I got sunflowers all over the place, you know, I mean, all the corners and.
Well, I remember seeing those at the end of the year.
Oh yeah,
they get huge.
Oh yeah. This fence row here is my cucumbers. They're just starting to running. They'll run all the way up this fence, all the way down it.
Huh.
You know, as a matter of fact, they'll be falling over the top.
Huh.
And it makes it a lot easier to pick the cucumbers, you know, and they don't rot because laying on the ground and stuff like that. Here's my newest thing, my pole beans came up. I've got them weeding them.
Oh, is that right?
This whole row of pole beans, this whole fence will be covered with beans.
Huh.
And that's about the grand tour of the garden here. Here's something I had in Illinois. I just started this spring. This is a wildflower bed. It's just now starting to get going, but this whole thing will be bloomed out all summer. Wildflowers. And the good thing about a wildflower bed, don't touch it. Once it starts going, you don't get in there, you don't do nothing with it. Just leave it alone just like it was out in the field. And it'll reseed itself every year. I had one in Illinois, it's like 4 years old, about 5 times bigger than this, but never had to do anything except late in the fall, when everything dies out, you go out there and you shake everything that's left, get the seeds to fall, then you can go over the top of it and knock it down with a weed eater and stuff like that, and every year it just keeps on coming back and coming back and coming back. The only thing you try to keep out of it is like right here, you got honeysuckle coming up, that vine coming up there.
Oh yeah.
You got to keep the honeysuckles out of it, and you try to keep your small little trees from sprouting up in it, and anything else, just leave alone. When you start one of these, I know some people have tried to start one, and what the mistake they made is they didn't kill everything already there. You got to go in there, like I went in here in the fall and sprayed it with Roundup. When it was just grass, killed it. Very early this spring, did it again. Then I planted my wildflower seeds, because the wildflowers won't have a chance to compete against the grass and stuff. But once you get the bed established, the grass can't compete with the wildflowers. So. And that's basically it.